She is the daughter of the man that many consider the best boxer of all time. And she's fighting for a cure. Join me as I sit down with Rasheda Ali, only in the Game 365. It is a title not given, but won. An honor not simply kept, but defended. An identity not only shouldered, but ingrained. Known as the greatest, Muhammad Ali had other nicknames, but it is this one that arguably best fits his electric personality. Daughter Rasheda Ali knows this side of her father, but for most of his career, she was too young to remember his show-stopping antics firsthand. Does he ever talk about his history in boxing?
Of course he does. He loves to talk about it. He's his favorite subject. He's never met a camera he didn't love.
Ali's flamboyance was displayed from the very start of his career and was especially visible when, under his birth name Cassius Clay, he fought then-champion Sonny Liston for the world heavyweight title.
That fight changed his life.
How?
Turned him into a star. Everyone thought he was going to lose. He wanted to find out what really scared Sonny, and he found out Sonny was afraid of crazy people.
Your dad acted very crazy in the press conference.
That's why he wanted to get in his head. I think it was the night or a couple of nights before the fight, he found Liston's home and he put a bear trap in front of his lawn because he gave all of his opponents nicknames, and he said, okay, you know, Sonny's the big ugly bear, and he put a big bear, a real one, right in front of his lawn, and he called the police, and he disguised his voice as a woman, and said, "There's a bear trap in the, you know, on Liston's lawn, you gotta come quick." And the press came because they were like, what is this about? And I think he kind of put boxing on the map with these kind of tactics.
After his win over Liston, Ali's rising popularity helped him come to be known as the People's Champion. He would never lose that nickname, but Ali eventually lost his first world heavyweight title without even stepping into the ring. After refusing to be drafted into military service during the Vietnam War, Muhammad's boxing licenses were revoked and his title was stripped. Your dad took a stand against the war, but a lot of guys couldn't take the stand that
Right.
your dad took, or they would have gone to jail. Did he ever talk to you about that?
No, I just know in general that he had always taught us you gotta stand for something. And if you believe in something, you gotta stick with it. And he had conviction. A lot of people thought, oh, you know, doing that was, you know, a ploy, but my dad lost many, many years of his prime career by taking that stand. And I'm sure he doesn't regret it because, I mean, he was a very spiritual man and he really, truly believed that he didn't need to be in that war.
Ali was eventually reinstated. His first world heavyweight title bout after was held at Madison Square Garden against Joe Frazier. Billed as the fight of the century, it was an epic battle in which he suffered his first defeat. Joe Frazier told me in an interview that on a night, Muhammad Ali and I stopped traffic in New York.
Sure.
Does your dad ever talk about fighting at the Garden against Frazier?
He talks about Frazier a lot.
Oh, he does?
Yeah. Frazier is a guy where, well, my dad's an artist. I mean, he draws a lot of pictures for us and for the kids. But he's very artistic, and he draws pictures of himself in a boxing ring. And there's two stick figures in the middle. You know, he'll title the stick figures, and one stick figure is Ali, and of course the other one's always Frazier. The greatest rival of all time was he and Frazier.
This is the one where Frazier told me that he and your dad stopped traffic in Manhattan.
Oh,
which they did.
This is awesome.
Look at that press conference.
I don't even see him like that anymore.
How about this?
I know. Look at his face.
Was he? Or do you think Joe was in on it with your dad as far as promoting the fight by arguing?
No, I think he took it personal.
They did.
Yeah. And it wasn't personal, it was business.
It certainly was serious business.
Right? But you know, there was a general love and respect for Frazier.
Still fighting. That's next on the Game 365.
The Game 365 is brought to you in part by Mizuno, offering superior crafted, top-quality baseball equipment. Take your game to the next level. Visit us at MizunoUSA.com. Mizuno, never settle. And by American Tourister. Pack more fun with American Tourister.
Floating like a butterfly and stinging like a bee, Muhammad Ali avenged his loss to Joe Frazier and eventually recaptured the world heavyweight title 2 more times. In the latter portion of his career, the Louisville Lip's signature grace and precision began to erode. At the time, many thought that this was simply a factor of age. But knowing what we do now, most likely it was more than that. In 1984, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease.
In the 80s, when he was diagnosed, there wasn't a lot of information about Parkinson's, so a lot of physicians did misdiagnose him because it was unheard of at that time to get Parkinson's in your 40s. So he finally went to a movement disorder specialist and was diagnosed correctly.
How difficult is it for you or your siblings to sit and talk to him and see what Parkinson's has done to him?
Well, I'm used to it. I will say that I've watched my dad with Parkinson's since I was probably about 11 or 12 years old. It's something that's I grew up with. It's actually more normal for me to see him with Parkinson's than without.
As a little girl of 11 years old, was it normal or was it, I'm searching for the answer watching you?
At first?
Yeah, when you first saw it.
I didn't physically see anything wrong with him because he had Parkinson's syndrome, which is not Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's syndrome is that you just get the symptoms of Parkinson's. And he's had syndrome for about 10 years. Every case is very different, very subjective. But once you get Parkinson's disease, you start to see the progression rate goes a little faster. And that's also very subjective.
Well, it starts not exactly the same in everybody. Some people start shaking when they want to hold their body parts straight. Often enough, it's not the hand, which is first noticed by others, but the tongue. Then they notice, and people around them notice, that they move slower, more deliberately, so to speak. And as time goes on, it becomes evident to everybody.
You know, you just saw it gradually getting worse. The speech gradually getting worse, the tremors gradually getting worse. But I think my dad's been blessed in the sense that I don't think his rate of progression has been that fast. Some people who have only had Parkinson's for several years, their progression is very quick. So I think we're blessed in the sense that he was able to work for a very long time, even being diagnosed.
Her father never backed down in the ring. So taking a page from his book, Rasheda Ali is now a fighter for all those with Parkinson's.
I've been an advocate for Parkinson's for quite a long time, obviously, since my dad was diagnosed. But I started professionally trying to help organizations since probably 2003. And it's a passion of mine that I've tried to help other organizations because a lot of them are underfunded and a lot of them are forgotten by a lot of people.
You wrote a book. In the title of the book,
I'll hold your hand so you won't fall.
It almost can bring a tear to your eye, thinking of a little child holding their dad's hand so he won't fall.
Yeah.
Where'd you get the title?
The publisher and I, we kind of brainstormed and we kind of thought of it together. But it kind of really resonated with me because I think it literally means I'll hold your hand so you won't fall. But also it means figuratively, if you need help, I will help you.
Much mystery surrounds Parkinson's disease, and there is no cure. Still, through research, more continues to be learned.
It has been possible to identify certain areas of the brain in the nerve cells, products which shouldn't be there. And these products are what we call abnormal proteins. Proteins are in food and everything. And this protein is kind of specifically changed, and it is found in Parkinson's disease in very specific areas of the brain. So that's a big advance, because that raises the possibility that A, we better understand how the whole thing starts. And by doing so, we may be able to develop better treatment, which can be used before you even lose your mobility.
Improved treatment will always be welcome, but Rasheda hopes that stem cell research can hold the key to knocking out her father's nemesis once and for all.
My passion is to try to find a cure for Parkinson's for my father. And so I teamed up with Brainstorm Cell Therapeutics, which is a biotech company. And what they do, they're a company out of Israel that are really doing some incredible things as far as the ALS clinical trials. I'd like to start really this year clinical trials here in the United States. The thing with Brainstorm's groundbreaking technology is that that's not, what we're doing in the labs, we're not only going to be able to help people right now with ALS, but we can also really tremendously help other neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's, people who have spinal cord injuries like Christopher Reeves, and diabetes, people who have heart disease. I mean, potentially stem cell therapy can help 80% of the diseases that are plaguing our the nation. So we need to find a cure, and we need to find it now.
Still training. That's next on the Game 365. Various medication can be used to ease the symptoms of Parkinson's disease, but outside of medicine, many of those diagnosed can improve their quality of life with more exercise. Luckily for Muhammad Ali, an active lifestyle is nothing new.
My dad likes to work out, and that's a good thing, because I always recommend people who have movement disorders to always exercise. And good thing my dad's an athlete, but he's always in the gym, and it really helps.
Even to this day?
Even to this day.
What kind of exercises could he do now?
He weight trains. And he does a shadow bag. I mean, he does a shadow bag, and he's really good. I mean, he punches the sandbag, the big heavy bag, he punches it. I mean, he's in his element, but he enjoys it, and he's crazy with the weights. I mean, he can still lift. I mean, his arms are like rocks still.
According to the Parkinson's Disease Foundation, it is estimated that as many as 1 million Americans have Parkinson's disease. One of those living with PD is Pamela Quinn, who danced professionally for 20 years before she was diagnosed at the age of 42.
Some people really know already before they are diagnosed that they have Parkinson's. I did not. I knew something was wrong, but I didn't have a name for it yet. So there was part of me that was relieved. Oh, this is what's going on. And part of me was devastated. I was a dancer. Movement was who I was, how I was in the world, how other people saw me. And also, what was all your future dreams. You kind of hold those dreams in the back of your head about how your life is going to unfold. And that rug was just pulled right out from under me.
Instead of shutting down, she took action. Leaning on the knowledge she accumulated dancing, Quinn invented therapeutic exercises for herself, and in the process, realized she could help others.
I thought of teaching, and I wasn't so sure about it, because I thought, do I want to surround myself with Parkinson's? Am I going to see my future? Can I handle that? But I thought, try. And if you don't like it, stop.
I think we were talking 10 minutes, and I said, yeah, let's start a class. I just had the hunch that she would be a very good teacher. She's an excellent teacher.
Every week, Pamela leads PD Movement Lab for the nonprofit organization Brooklyn Parkinson Group. In it, Quinn constantly develops new methods to target the specific symptoms of her students.
Went up the hill to fetch a pail of water.
The more you do with Parkinson's, the better. In my mind, a class is way more effective than going one-on-one with a therapist. Even though you might improve more with a therapist, the social aspect and the feeling of empowerment are actually as important as the specifics of, oh, I have better balance.
Frequently, doctors ask me to visit with people who have just been diagnosed because I've had it for almost 19 years, and so for someone to see someone that's functioning after that long period of time, it's encouraging. The main thing is live your life. Don't make this your identity. Yes, it's part of you and it's going to increasingly become more of you, but just move forward, do what you want to do, and don't accept the fact that it's a downward trajectory.
Always optimistic. That's next on the Game 365. Other than PD Movement Lab, Brooklyn Parkinson Group offers Dance for PD, Fitness for PD, and Sing for PD, all of which are aimed to improve life for those with Parkinson's disease. The classes are free of charge and open to anyone with Parkinson's disease, as well as their family members and friends.
People do say, you know, you saved my life. I thought my life was over. So this organization, these classes that Brooklyn Parkinson Group provides, because people get to know one another, and then therefore they're connected to them, and they care about them, that gives purpose.
While organizations like Brooklyn Parkinson Group continue to help those living with Parkinson's disease, much about the cause of the movement disorder remains a mystery. I know when your dad was first diagnosed, I'm sure everybody thought because of boxing.
Of course. At first I was like, no way. Because I started to see the numbers. I said 6.5 million people, probably about 125,000 in North America. That's a lot of people, and they're not all boxers. You could have a gene that, you know, you could have the genetic composition to get Parkinson's and never get it. But boxing is lifestyle, so I don't know. Like I said, we won't know until down the road when we get enough research in to find the answers to all these questions, because we still don't know.
We don't know really the causes, but the current understanding is that if you have certain genes, then you are more vulnerable to something. And we don't know what that something is or are. And the repeated trauma to the head in boxing has been listed as one of the possible contributing causes. And there is no evidence that if you are a good boxer for your whole life, you will develop Parkinson's disease. Perhaps if you have the right or the wrong gene and go through your life boxing, that could be a contributing factor.
Do you ever talk to anybody about staying in the ring? And it seems like boxers love it enough where they could stay in that ring maybe too long. Do they ever admit it?
That's a very good question. I don't know. Well, first, my dad never had regrets, so I know he'd never say, I should have stopped after Larry Holmes. He would never say that because I don't think he really wanted to stop. He loved it. And if it weren't for his age, he'd be boxing right now. But I will say this, several years back, we went to a boxing match together. And he came back and he was just, something was on his mind. And I said, hey, you know, Daddy, what are you thinking about? What's going on? He said, I think I'm gonna make a comeback. And I started laughing. And I said, Daddy, look, I said, if anybody can pull that off, it would be you. I said, that's one. And two, I said, if you did come back, I said, you won't shock the world once, but you'll shock it twice.
In a quiet moment, what are his thoughts about Parkinson's?
He's not gonna let Parkinson's beat him. He goes out, he does what he wants. We go to the movies, we go out to eat. I've never seen him complain, or I've never heard him complain. We spend a lot of time together. We talk about a lot of, you know, real life issues, and I go to him for advice. He's my rock. I mean, who else to go to than your father, who has seen and done almost everything? He doesn't have regrets, though. He has always said there's a reason why things happen. And I think he feels that the greater purpose is, even being diagnosed with Parkinson's, he's still able to help millions of people. So maybe he had to get Parkinson's to be able to help people.
The Game 365 has been brought to you in part by Mizuno, offering superior crafted, top-quality baseball equipment. Take your game to the next level. Visit us at MizunoUSA.com. Mizuno, never settle. And by American Tourister. Pack more fun with American Tourister.